and crisis situation. World First Aid Day is observed on the second Saturday of September every year. The International Red Cross believes that first aid should be accessible to all, including the most vulnerable. And it should also be an integral part of a wider developmental approach. More than 100 Red Cross and Red Crescent societies around the world are today organizing events today. And I have joining me in the studio for more discussions and demonstrations of first aid administration, is a first aid trainer of the Red Cross Society of Nigeria, Abdulmumini Sanni. Thank you so much for coming on the news.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Well, accidents are what they are. Accidents, they are never planned.
Yes.
But then, what is the imperative, what the knowledge about behind administering first aid rather? How imperative is it to acquire this knowledge?
All right, it is very important to acquire first aid knowledge and also be able to administer first aid when accidents and emergencies does occur, because most times the distance between the place of an accident and the closest hospital could just be a very long distance.
Right.
And if first aid is properly administered, you will be able to achieve three things. You should be looking at achieving preservation of the casualty's life. You are looking at the areas of ensuring that you elongate the casualty's life also, and you're also looking at ensuring that the situation does not become worse, because if you don't give proper attention, then the possibility is there that you could actually lose a casualty. All right, so
a lot of people will always say first aid, first aid. What exactly is it like to administer first aid? Would you like to show us how it's done, really?
All right, some very few things that you need to do about first aid, especially when you get to the scene of an accident, is the first thing that is very important. You must look out for danger. Danger, and in the time of the COVID-19, which is our priority in this time of COVID-19, we are looking at also administering first aid in the most safe manner as we can, so that at least we're also keeping ourselves safe and keeping the members of the public safe. It is important that we use our PPEs, the personal protective gears, and in approaching our scenes. Now, the first thing you need to do is looking out for your personal safety. We are looking at DRABC, where you look at where the D stands for danger. Look out for personal dangers. If there's any danger that needs to be sorted out, please sort it out as quickly as possible. Do not
You mean danger like broken bottles, anything that can affect
naked
the
cables,
victim?
anything that we think would affect either you, the casualty, or even passersby, because this is Lagos. You know, people actually gather immediately you have an incident. People will gather. They want to know what's happening, so you must deal with danger. The next thing you want to look out for is response. Try as much as you can to get response from your casualty. You can give a call. Okay? Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Hello, mister. If you know the casualty's name, call the casualty's name. If you don't, you can just use the general, mister, can you hear me? I am here to help you. Can you hear me? You don't have that. If you're not getting the
If the person cannot respond,
the next thing is
stage.
Get close to your casualty, but you need to be careful. In this time of the pandemic, you want to be careful so that you don't put yourself at risk. You want to open the airway, which is the A part now. In opening the airway, you have one hand on the casualty's forehead and two to the chin, and you tilt gently up. And with this, you would have opened the airway. Now, you want to also check for breathing to see if the casualty is breathing or not. How do you do that? Now, pre-COVID-19, we'll be looking at look, listen, and feel for breath. But these days, we want to, again, adopt the new normal. And the new normal is just look for the rise and fall of the chest and abdomen for 10 seconds. And where the casualty is not breathing, then you move on to give Cpr, Cardiopulmonary Resuscitation. Cardio, heart, pulmonary, the lungs, and resuscitation, you're looking at the ability to breathe. Locate the sternum, which is the bone in the middle of the two breasts. Bring in your hand and lock it in together, and you compress 30 times, like this. 2, 3, 4,
30 times.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Okay,
18,
up to 30.
1, 2, 3, up to 30. Once you have 30, now you're supposed to give 2 rescue breaths. But because of the COVID-19, you don't want to put yourself at risk, except this person is a direct family member. Even when you have that and you really passionately want to give the rescue breath, then you can now use what we refer to as a pocket mask. And this will protect you from the COVID-19. So it's always advisable that we should have this. You place this in the casualty's mouth, and this gives you some level of barrier between the casualty and you continue this until either of these 3 things happen.
While you're compressing the heart, what intensity would you, what pressure would you?
You are compressing at the rate of 1/3 of the heart. I mean of the chest now. That is what you'll be compressing. Now your 1/3 could be different from each other, depending on the size of the casualty you're looking at. So 1/3 will be different. That is for adults, but for children, you'll be looking at just using one hand. Then while for infant, you are using just 2 fingers to compress. But for children and infant, it will be very important to give them the rescue breath. This time, you are giving them 5 initial rescue breaths because they need more of the rescue breath than the compression that you have in adults. Either of these 3 things will happen if you must stop the compression. Number 1 is that the casualty shows signs of breath. So that means while I'm compressing, trying to compress for 30 times, if the casualty shows signs of breath, then I must stop. Number 2 is that I have called for help. I would have called for help before starting the compression. Once help arrives, calling the emergency number. Once help arrives, then it is time to stop and hand over to the emergency workers to continue from there. Number 3 is that if at any point in time while I am compressing, because compression is also very exhausting, so you don't also want to put yourself at risk as a first aider. If at any point in time you get tired, it's always advisable that you take a pause and continue, or get somebody around to help you.
But if you don't have all of these kits, available, because whenever it's going to happen, it's an accident. It may not be planned. You don't have the what you're wearing, the goggle, so to call it, and that particular one. How do you protect yourself, especially in this?
We always encourage first aiders to be able to improvise for materials that they need. Okay, I need a face shield, but I don't have one. I should be able to improvise around the environment. What things I think I can get around the environment that will serve that purpose. Now, for adults, you may not need to necessarily give the rescue breath. You may just focus your attention on the chest compression, and that will suffice for the rescue breath, because your aim is that you want to get blood to keep circulating to the brain, so that at least, and other vital organs, so that at least they are alive until you get the casualty to the hospital. All right.
But then, as you move closer, we know that in various offices, it's very, very compulsory that we have first aid box as well. So what are the things that we expect in a first aid box, and how is it very, very compulsory that we have them in our organization, and how do we use them quickly?
Now, for the first aid box, it's very compulsory that you should have the first aid box in place of work. And some of the things you expected, you have various kinds of bandages. We are looking at plaster. We are also looking at scissors to cut. We are looking at safety pins. Okay. These days, we no longer encourage the use of drugs in the placing of drugs in our first aid kit, because people tend to abuse these drugs once they are in the kit. And so we tend to discourage that people should remove them from the first aid kit.
All right. Thank you very, very kindly for giving us that demonstration and also the essence of understanding the first aid administration. Thank you so much. First aid trainer of the Red Cross Society of Nigeria, Abdulmumini Sanni. Thank you so much for coming to the studio.